here at Trinity Episcopal Church in Towson, and I'm going to tell you one of the stories from the Complete Guide to Godly Play. The story's in Volume 6, and it's published by Church Publishing and was written by Jerome Berryman in cooperation with some of the Godly Play trainers. But before we hear the story, we have to be ready. And one way I like to get ready is to listen, to get quiet inside and listen. And so let's listen to the sound of these tingsha. I'll strike it once, and when we can no longer hear it, then we will have taken a deep breath and we'll be ready to listen. This is the story of the prophet Elijah. Now you know that prophets are people who come so close to God, and God comes so close to them that they know what God wants them to do and say. Now when people hear the message of the prophets, they often get very angry. It's not easy to be a prophet. Elijah was in the land of Israel during the time of King Ahab. Ahab was king over all of Israel, but he married a woman from another land. Her name was Jezebel, and Jezebel wanted King Ahab to worship her god, Baal. And so King Ahab built a temple and put a statue of Baal in the temple, and told the people of God that they should worship Baal. God sent Elijah to tell the king that this was not right, and there would be no rain in the land for 3 whole years. This made King Ahab and Queen Jezebel very angry, and so Elijah had to run and hide. Elijah went to the valley of Kerith, and there was a little river that had some water in it. And God sent ravens day and night to bring food, bread and meat to Elijah. But the little river dried up because there was no rain in the land. And so Elijah went into the town of Zarephath to try to find some food. And there he saw a woman gathering sticks for a fire. He asked her for some bread. She said all she had was a little flour and a little oil, and it was only enough to make bread for herself and her son, and that would be their last meal. Elijah told the woman to trust in God, and that if she gave even a small piece of her bread to Elijah, God would make sure that her family had enough to eat. And so she did, and it was true. Well, 3 years passed. Elijah went back to speak with King Ahab. Ahab was still angry, but this time he listened because there was still no rain in the land. Elijah told Ahab to call together all of the many priests of Baal to make a sacrifice to their god. 2 altars were built. Elijah said to the priests of Baal, "You pray to your God and make an offering, and I will pray to my God, and we will see which one sends a fire first to consume the offering." Well, the priests of Baal prayed and prayed all day, and nothing happened. Elijah started to tease them. Elijah said to them, "Maybe your God is sleeping. Maybe you need to pray louder and wake him up." And so the priests of Baal prayed louder and louder, and still nothing happened. Finally, it was Elijah's turn. And Elijah placed 12 stones around the altar for the 12 tribes of Israel. And then he dug a deep trench all around the altar and got his offering ready for God. And when all was ready, he poured water all over the altar. And then Elijah prayed to God. And a great fire came down and consumed the offering and dried up all the water on the altar and in the trench. And the people were amazed. They knelt down and said, "The Lord is God." This made Ahab even angrier. Now Elijah had to run for his life. So he ran to God's holy mountain. And Elijah found a cave near there and went to sleep. But God said to Elijah, "Elijah, what are you doing?" Elijah said, "Lord, I have done everything you told me. And the people have killed all of the prophets. I am the only one left." God said to Elijah, "Go stand on top of the mountain and I will come to you." So Elijah stood on the mountain. And a great wind came. But God was not in the wind. And then an earthquake shook the land. But God was not in the earthquake. And then a fire raged down and burned up everything all around. But God was not in the fire. And then there was silence. Elijah listened and heard a still, small voice. It was God. And God told Elijah to go back to the people to be their prophet. And he did. King Ahab and Queen Jezebel died, but Elijah remained a prophet for the rest of his days. Now, when it was time for Elijah to die, he crossed over the Jordan River and into the wilderness with his friend Elisha. Elisha was walking along and hoping that God's Spirit that was in Elijah would also come upon Elisha. And while they were talking, a chariot appeared. It was a chariot of fire, and it took Elijah up into heaven. And as Elisha, who was on the ground, looked down, Elijah threw his mantle down. It's kind of a scarf, the mantle. And Elisha picked up the mantle and knew that God's Spirit was in him too. And Elisha also became a great prophet. Now I wonder which part of this story you like the best. The ravens that came day and night and fed Elijah with meat and bread? Or did you like the part where King Ahab built a special temple and made a statue of Baal? Did you like the part where there were 2 altars and the priests of Baal did not have any success? Did you like the part in Zarephath where the woman shared her bread with the prophet Elijah, and her family always had enough to eat. Did you like the part when Elijah was on top of the mountain and he finally heard God? Or did you like the chariot of fire that took Elijah up into heaven? I wonder what the most important part of this story is. Sometimes that's the same as your favorite, and sometimes it's not. I wonder if there's part of the story that's about you, or who you might be in the story. I wonder if you could draw a picture, or make something out of clay, or make a collage about your favorite part of this story of Elijah. I wonder what prophets we'll hear about next Sunday when Advent begins. God bless you this week. God keep you safe and warm. God help you to love the people you come around and you are with. And God help you to love God and follow Him with all of your heart.